Hi, I'm Lizzie and this is Laura, and we have just returned from a sailing on board P&O's Iona. It was a 7-night Northern Europe cruise, and this is what we got up to on day 7 and how disembarkation went.
If you don't want to miss everything that we got up to on board this cruise and any of our future cruises, make sure you're subscribed to our channel.
So this morning there was an announcement at about 7:20 to say that we could disembark the ship. For once, we didn't actually mind this early announcement because we were planning on getting up early anyway.
As we mentioned in yesterday's video, we had pre-booked a table for breakfast in the Coral restaurant for 8:15. So we headed down there to meet our family at the restaurant and go in to enjoy breakfast. There was a queue when we arrived at the restaurant, so we did have to wait for a short amount of time before we were able to get to the desk to be seated. But we were then taken straight through to a table.
When we were first sat at the table, we were offered tea, coffee or juice, which was then brought around to us. Once that was done, we were then asked for our order. We've always heard rumours about the fact that you can get a thicker sliced toast on board, so we made one of our aunts ask for big toast, and we can confirm the rumours are true. The best thing about it is it comes out piping hot instead of it being made ages ago. I ordered separate things off the menu that made an English breakfast that I would like because I didn't want to waste the things that I didn't like. It was an enjoyable breakfast.
And I had pancakes, and I also ordered a sausage to go with it rather than bacon, which people I suppose normally would have. And again, I quite enjoyed my breakfast. It was nice to have something served to you rather than have to collect it from the buffet.
Toast was also brought out for the rest of the table in the toast racks, and this was the usual type of toast you get in the P&O dining rooms, which isn't hot, but it filled a bit of a hole.
After we'd finished our breakfast, we then headed straight for the gangway to get off the ship. We actually were really surprised that we had to show our passports as we disembarked this morning. There was somebody from passport control at the bottom of the gangway, and they were asking just to show passports as we disembarked. It was about 9:20 by this point, so we'd been probably just over an hour with our whole dining room experience.
In the port of Zeebrugge, you need to get a shuttle bus from the ship to the port building. You are not allowed to walk yourself as this is a working port. There was a shuttle bus waiting, so we got straight on it. It is an extremely short journey. It takes less than 5 minutes. But it was amazing that in that short time, the rest of our family decided they needed to go to the toilet. Luckily, there is one in the port building, so they all managed to use it.
We had planned to go into Bruges today. It's actually been a little while since we last went into Bruges, so we thought we'd make the effort. And we have pre-booked the Cruise Express online, which we've heard lots of other people talking about as a really easy way to get into Bruges. And it is cheaper than using the cruise ship excursions. We were definitely pleased we'd done this today because there were lots of problems with the trains going into Bruges. So there were plenty of people trying to get booked onto the Cruise Express as we approached.
The office for the Cruise Express is right opposite the building. It's really easy to see. So we just walked over there, and a very jolly gentleman gave us tickets that we then had to go and join a queue to jump on the bus. There was a little bit of a queue, but the buses were filling up and they were sending them on their way into Bruges really quickly. By the time our coach left, it was about 5 to 10, and the journey into Bruges itself took about 25 minutes, which was a really quick, smooth journey.
The Cruise Express drops you off in a car park on the outskirts of Bruges, so it is a little bit of a walk into the centre, nothing too taxing, and all of our family members were quite comfortable doing this. As we walked in towards the centre, we passed an awful lot of chocolate shops and things like that, so we walked along the cobble streets, enjoyed some of the scenery, and did head into and look at about 1 million of these chocolate shops because everybody we were with wanted to look in every single one of them.
Before we had got into Bruges, we had already decided that we'd quite like to do a trip on the Canal. Laura, my mum and myself did one of these quite a while ago, and we really enjoyed it, and we thought everybody would like it. A few of the stops where you could get on the boat were closed till later on in the day as they were being used for cruise ship excursions. However, we soon found one which there was a very short queue at. The cost of the boat trip was €15 and it lasted about 35 minutes. Just a warning, it was a little bit tricky getting into the boat, so if you're somebody who has mobility issues, you might find that a struggle.
The boat trip took us along the main canal and past a lot of the major sites in Bruges. The commentary on board did give us a lot of information as well about what we were looking at. Something which everybody is interested in, apparently, is the window that Colin Farrell jumped out of in a film in Bruges. The boat driver was also very pleased to tell us that Bruges has 22 churches, which, when you consider the size of it, is quite an amazing feat. So we were interested to hear that too. And then another really key landmark that he pointed out was a bridge that he called the Kissing Bridge. And apparently it's traditional for couples to go on there and have a kiss. And we did see that that was happening as we passed underneath it.
Once we got off the little boat trip, we decided to head to the main square, as we hadn't quite made it to this point yet. On the way, some of our family members couldn't resist popping into a few shops, but by now we were all feeling quite hungry and we decided that we needed to try a Belgian beer. So we found ourselves a restaurant where we could all sit and have something to eat and a beer.
As it was lunchtime, we all pretty much chose just a toasted sandwich off the menu, but they were really nice and they were served with some nice salads and things like that. The service in there was great as well. The staff were really friendly and helpful. We did have a little bit of an issue with the card machine at the end because it just wasn't working and we thought we were going to have to go and do the washing up. But we did get that working in the end and were able to pay our bill. But it was nice to get off our feet for a little bit and fill our bellies.
By this stage, some of the family were feeling a little bit tired and decided that this was probably worth heading back towards the Cruise Express now, as we didn't want to be risking the last bus in case it was too busy. We walked back from the main square and this journey is about 22 minutes, so as you can see it's not too far from the main square. However, it did take us slightly longer as once again family members couldn't resist those chocolate shops and some of the other shops.
The Cruise Express does a return service back to the ship every 30 minutes after 12:30. The final return time on this day was 3:30, but they do put a poster up at the Cruise Express office telling you what the final bus will be. So we made sure we were there for the 3 p.m. bus.
The journey back to the ship took slightly longer, about half hour, because there was a little tiny bit more traffic, but obviously it wasn't a bad journey still. We were delighted that we arrived back just before all the P&O excursions, because if we'd have been slightly later, we'd have been stuck in a rather large queue to get on board. So we rushed through in front of them to make sure that didn't happen. In Zeebrugge, you go through security in the port building. They did make everyone take their coats off here. So that's just something to be aware of if you're on a cold weather cruise. Then you have to get onto the shuttle bus. Again, it only took us 5 minutes to get back to the ship.
When we got back on the ship, we popped back to the cabin just to drop off our bags and coats, and then we popped back out to the glass house just to sit and have a drink and a chat and enjoy sort of our final afternoon on the ship, really, before it was time to go back to the cabin again and start packing.
I really wanted a decent glass of wine before I got off the ship. When we went back to the cabin, we did start our packing, but we didn't finish it because we ended up having a bit longer in the glass house than we intended. We got ourselves changed for the evening and then headed to our usual meeting point, the Keel and Cow.
The virtual queues for the dining rooms were all pretty long again tonight. We joined the queue for Coral, knowing that it was a larger restaurant and thinking that would give us the best chance of getting in there quite quickly. But it did take about half an hour for a table to become available. So by the time we arrived at the dining room, it was quite late and there weren't that many people left in there.
We were all quite excited with the menu tonight, as there were a fair few things on there that we wanted to try. And our cousin was especially excited because she had decided that she was going to try the signature dishes tonight. When she ordered it from the waiter, he said it would be a half-hour wait. And did we all mind waiting? Which obviously we didn't. We were happy to wait with her. For my starters today, I had one of my favourite starters. I would choose this in lots of restaurants, and it was gambas pilpil. I absolutely love prawns, and these were very tasty. And then for my main, I had a dish that I've never seen on a P&O menu before, and it was like a Chinese style pork. This has got to be one of my favourite things I've ever eaten on a P&O ship. I thoroughly enjoyed it, which is quite unusual for me on the last day because usually I'm too full to eat.
For my starter, I had a pork bonbon, which surprised me, to be honest, that I chose it, but I must have been feeling brave, and it did pay off because it was really tasty. And then for my main, I had one of my favourite P&O menu dishes. I think that I had this for the first time in August on our Fjords cruise, and it was the sweet and sour chicken. It was, again, really tasty, very nicely cooked, and I did really enjoy it. And for my dessert, I had banana split, which I was excited to try as I always enjoy one, and this one was quite good. We did also make sure that we got a report back on the signature selection from our cousin Nikki, and she said that she could definitely tell the difference in the quality of the food that she was served as part of that meal, and it was worth paying the extra money for.
Once again, it was pretty late when we finished dinner, so we were too late to head off to some of the other entertainment, so we decided instead to just head to the glass house where we could sit and have a drink. While we were in the glass house, we noticed that there had been a Sky News article all about norovirus on Iona. We were quite surprised to see this, and we felt like it had been sensationalised because, as we said in our last video, we felt like everything was being dealt with quite well. We have a theory that we quite often seem to be on ships when there's illnesses about, and we presume it's because we're often on in-school holidays.
After enjoying a drink in the glass house, we then headed down to the clubhouse to catch the end of Pulse's set. Again, we did enjoy this. Like we've said on lots of previous videos about this cruise, we do think that this version of Pulse on board Iona are very good. They just seem to be really enjoying their jobs.
We then stayed in the clubhouse just for a few drinks before heading back to the cabin. We really appreciate the fact that you don't have to put your suitcase out too early on board Iona, because it means then you can get rid of the clothes that you've had on that night, and it meant we could finish our packing once we'd got back. We were excited that neither of us had to drive home tomorrow because we were getting the minibus back, and we settled down for a good night's sleep.
We decided as a group that we weren't going to be having any breakfast the next day, so we got up and left our cabin for 8 AM, which is the time you need to be out of your cabin by, and headed to meet everybody else in sort of around the Vista area, which is on the bottom floor of the atrium.
If you leave your cabin at 8 AM, it is worth being aware that the queues for the lifts will be quite big at this time, as everyone is trying to leave at the same time. So if you can carry your own hand luggage down the stairs or up if you're going up to the buffet, I suggest that you do that because it will make your life easier.
We had all been allocated different disembarkation times. For some reason, the time we'd been allocated was a special assistance disembarkation time, but we spoke about this on board, and luckily we were able to join the queue and disembark together at the same time, which made things a lot easier as we'd all travelled on the same transport.
The queue was relatively long, but it was moving, so it wasn't an issue, and we were soon off the ship. Once we had walked all the way down the air bridge and we entered the luggage hall, it was really easy to find our luggage, and we were soon out onto the car park area to be able to go and meet our minibus. There were staff around directing people to the right places. So if you've parked with CPS, they were telling you where to go. If you needed a taxi, they were sending you that way, or pickups were a different direction.
Our minibus driver found it very easy to come into the port area and find somewhere to wait for us, and we equally found it really easy to find him. He was directed to a spot where we could quite easily approach, load all of our luggage on, and then we were on our way in no time. It was a really easy process, and we were back home in what felt like no time at all.
We have really enjoyed the final day of our cruise. We all love visiting Bruges. It is a beautiful city and definitely worth visiting. And we all found the disembarkation process really easy this morning.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to give this video a like and drop any questions you've got in the comments down below. Please do also make sure that you're subscribed to our channel. You can also find us on social media by searching Sisters on the Seas.